What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again. You already know what time it is when you see me in front of TV. One thing is for certain, and three things are for sure. Number one, want to make sure you keep. Well, that's not number one. That's number three. We just jump right into it, right? Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats and not none of that static. And number three, and perhaps the most important number of them all, number three, we want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don, how, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic, especially in these trying times? Especially in these trying times back in the gutter, back in the cellar of the NFC North, especially in those trying times. Well, I'll tell you, smash like button, subscribe, share with your peoples. And once you've done those things in any order that you've done them in, it doesn't matter which order. You've kept your Lions news pragmatic. And since sharing is caring, once you've shared this stream with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, sisters, cousins, uncles, your father's name, better, you name it. You name it. You have indeed cared about these people. Let's go ahead and get right into it, y'all. Hey, what up, though, everybody in the chat? We got the chat buzzing today. We got the chat buzzing today because, you see, something happened. Something happened. And what was it that happened? I'll tell you. What up, though, Tactical Sport? What up, though, Jody Carruthers? What up, though, Pierce Sargent? What up, though? Who this? Charles Babineau. Charles Babineau. Right. What up, though? Good evening, Altori. What up, though, Brent DeWitt? What up, though, Taylor Made Media? Yes, we know DK has been suspended for 2 games. Let me go ahead and get into my spiel right quick, and I will address the chat. What up, though, Mr. Detroit City? Something has happened. On the thumbnail, you see when it says, "How did we lose it?" And you see a picture of Jared Goff. Well, I was going to go with a picture of Aiden Hutchinson. Now, these are not people that I'm blaming specifically. These are units, right? Aiden Hutchinson is the leader of the defense. Jared Goff is the leader of the offense. And then there's a Dan Campbell, who's the leader of the entire team. And then there's Kelvin Shepard, who is the coordinator of the defense. And then there's Dan Campbell, who's the coordinator of the offense. And then there's Brad Holmes, who's the GM of the whole thing. And in common with me, he's the chef. He puts all the ingredients in the pot. And all I've heard is let Brad cook. Well, Brad been cooking. But you see, the situation is this. Brad Holmes has cooked up something nasty. Oh, this is the kind of cooking that you take back to the chef and you say, "What is this, boyish? I can't get jiggy with this ish. I can't get jiggy with it. What is this shit? What is this shit? I can't get jiggy with this shit. Right? I can't. Idiot. Idiot. Listen to me. I will never cook for you. This is what Brad Holmes needs to say. I will never cook for you. Your mother is not here. I will never cook. I will take you to McDonald's. Okay? Hey, listen. Let's talk about the game. We're gonna start off talking about the game. Anybody in here that wants to talk to me about the referees, please leave now. Okay? If you want to hear why the referee argument is so weak, you can stay. But if your main reason in your mind is that the Detroit Lions lost that game because the referees called 2 OPIs, and here's the issue that I have with a lot of you fans. The one that was sketchy was the Tesla one. And when it happened, I saw the replay, I said, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. That one looks sketchy. I have grown adult human beings saying that it's okay for Amon-Ra St. Brown to run in to Jalen Ramsey. And it wasn't even a full extension of the push off. That wasn't it. It was the violence with which he pushed off on Jalen Ramsey. He ran into Jalen Ramsey because he was trying to draw a flag, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But see, Jalen Ramsey didn't take the bait. He stood there. So all of the action came from Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was very violent. He ran into him like he was trying to run him over. And there are Lions fans out there telling me, telling us, telling the world that that wasn't OPI and it's the refs, yada, yada, yada. See, you lose credibility when you say dumbish like that, right? You lose credibility when you say dumbish like that. Look, bro, it was pass interference. The Tesla one? No, it wasn't. Okay? But the referees didn't cause you to get -3 yards in the third quarter. Your offense produced -3 yards in the third quarter. It was very reminiscent of a game in which we played about a week ago. It was all good about a week ago. I went to Africa a week ago. I killed a lion and I killed a goat. No, it wasn't all good at all because we did the same damn thing against the Los Angeles Rams where we had a chance to win, right? It was very NFC Championship-esque last week. This week, it wasn't NFC Championship-esque at all. But last week, we were whooping that ass and then came out in the third quarter and gained 5 yards. This third quarter, I wouldn't say we were whooping that ass, but we were holding them at bay. And then Alex Anzalone, whatever the hell that was, okay? And then Kenneth Gainwell caught that thing laying down, got up and scored a touchdown and tied up the game and made it basically 0-0 going into the half. So then they came out of the half and they had the ball for 12 minutes in the third quarter. We got the ball one possession and went -3 yards. That is Dan Campbell. That is Jared Goff. That is the offensive line. Dan Campbell's stubbornness about Jahmyr Gibbs up the middle has gotten to a fever pitch. I'm done with it. Why are you doing it? It's not working. I had someone in here yesterday during the game telling me, hey, man, we need to give the ball to Monty. Really? We had 15 yards of rushing for the entire game. Monty and Gibbs and whoever else running the football wasn't the problem. The problem was that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't allow you to run the ball. Jameson Williams before the game said, yeah, we both play a physical style. And so basically it's going to be a game when we see who can out-bully the other bully. Pretty much. Who can do more bullying? Advantage Pittsburgh Steelers because they held you to 15 yards of rushing. Let's go to the other side of the football where you held them, can we call it held, to 15 yards per carry. You see the difference? You see the difference? Jaylen Warren, 143 yards rushing. Kenneth Gainwell, 130 yards all-purpose. What are you doing? Where are the people who have gotten money? Where's Aleem McNeil? I can't say where's Hutch because even though Hutch is getting double and triple team, I mean, the first sack that he got or the second sack, you saw he had to beat two dudes. He beat one offensive lineman and then another one slid right over And he had to beat him too to get to Aaron Rodgers. That's because the guy on the other side, Marcus Davenport, might as well be playing in Miami because he's MIA. DJ Reader had, I don't know what that was after the game on Twitter when he said, cool, I'll go get bread somewhere else because people were, this, that, and the third thing. Okay, cool. He said, he knows a lot more than what's going on behind the scenes than we do. But of course, we're always right. Cool. That's fine. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I know what nobody in front of the scenes stopping the run. At this point, I don't care what your reasoning is. If you are on the football field, you are expected to do your damn job. If you're on the football field, you're expected to do your damn job. Nobody was doing nothing yesterday. Nobody was doing their damn job yesterday. For you to let up all those yards per carry and still be able to say it was the refs. This is the reason why the ticket prices are so high, because the fan base, the Ford's been able to say, hey man, this fan base, there's something different, baby. Okay? This is something different, baby, right here. This fan base right here, all you got to do is just trot them out something, and then and they're gonna eat it up. They're gonna lap it up. Okay, we got Barry Sanders right here. Okay. All right. And I know Ford doesn't talk like this, but it's just, I don't know what he talk like. I never heard him talk. Okay. William Clay Ford. Hey man, we're gonna throw out Matt Milne out there. Just real cavalier with it. But we got Calvin Johnson. You know what I'm talking about? How did you look? And we're gonna get I'm gonna save this. We're gonna get into the Brad Holmes aspect in a bit. Dan Campbell was outcoached. Kelvin Shepard was outcoached. And there's someone who he can't be here today, unfortunately, because he got banned. He made it about race. Oh, let's not criticize Kelvin Shepard because he's black. Yeah, that's the vibe that you've all gotten from me, right? I'm a race baiter. I'm always talking about race. I'm always doing that, right? Y'all heard me do this like every stream. I talk about race. Not very often do I talk about race. Okay. So Lee McNeil's black. I just criticized the hell out of him. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Harper's black. He sucks. Okay. DJ Reed. I talk about DJ Reed all the time. He's also black and he's terrible. So for that guy, this is why you got banned. Okay. All right. This is why you get banned. Jody Carruthers with the super chat. Appreciate you, Jody. Let me see if I can pop that on the screen. Jody says, damn shame the whole Lions organization better wake the F up in the offseason on every front. That is correct, Jody, and we're going to get to all of that. So no one did their job, as I said. The only coach yesterday that didn't get out coached was probably Dave Phipp. That's it. Okay. The effort from the Detroit Lions yesterday was piss poor. You are fighting for your playoff lives. If that makes any difference to you, if that matters at all, I don't know. At this point, and I've told you this before, I don't want the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs because Brad Holmes has to eat this. And we'll talk about all the things that Brad Holmes has done in a minute. Let me get to your comments because I know there's a bunch of them, and I will try to answer them all. Let's see. All right, Pierce Sargent says, okay, I have so much to say. I have reached the point of unpleasant. LOL. LOL, I think we all have facts. Crazy work. Good evening. Trying times, yes. These are trying times. 1, DK should be suspended more than 2 games. Probably. 2, I'm done with league apologies on calls. 3, pass rush sucks. Yeah. Keep up the great work, Don. Appreciate you, Mr. Detroit City. 4, offense, use Monty. At that, like I said, it didn't matter who you used at the time. We have freaking Kingsley Aguakun or Eguakon or what, however the hell you say his name. This is a Nigerian name, Aguakun. Kingsley Aguakun. He is from my tribe. He speaks Yoruba just like me. He wants to bring the bread and the king's meal, but he doesn't have the bricks in his back pocket. Kingsley Aguakun sucks ass, and I'm so upset that I have to say this about one of my fellow Nigerians, but he cannot do it. He is terrible. You must idiot. You must get him out of the game. I'm sorry. Okay. Taylor Mays laughing at my Nigerian accent. Jody says, I was there yesterday at Ford Field. The one game a season I can make happen due to outrageous ticket prices. It was so damn depressing. I wish we hadn't been there for that. Took my 2 sons. Yeah, that sucks. That's a tough one. Only one of my arguments used refs, Don. No, I wasn't talking about you, Pierce. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about all of the other people. Cooking intestines and telling you it's prime rib. He's making hot dogs. I'm very pissed about DK though. Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the game. Let's see here. Bummer, Jody, been there many times. I don't doubt it. Definitely a lot more fun when we win, but yesterday's loss was obviously worse than the average loss. I'm sure you've experienced this too. Awful. What up, though, Junior? We've already talked about the OPI on Tesla. And Davenport got injured by tackling. Brad is our problem. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Just slow your roll, slow your roll. What up, though, Rich? What's that? 9623. I'm not blaming the ref as much as our team, but the OPI was a crazy call. It wasn't good. Jared Goff is black and he's mid. Deflated is the only word I can think of. Joe, we are all deflated. So though, Zach J. Brad Holmes saying we good. Yeah. So that was Brad. That was Dan Campbell. It gets, it gets attributed to Brad Holmes probably because he's always saying a bunch of other dumb stuff. But we're gonna get to Brad Holmes. But that was Dan Campbell with the we good. We good, but we ain't good. You know what I mean? MCDC is losing the halftime adjustment battle. Opponents are learning the first half and exploiting the second half. That is facts. They lost it not using Monty 3 times from the 4. We have 50 guys. We had 15 yards of rushing. That is not a Monty use problem. That is not a Monty use problem. We have 15 yards of rushing. Did y'all not see how many times that when Monty was in there or Gibbs, it didn't matter, right? Alex Highsmith was just in the backfield as soon as the ball was handed off. There was no room to run. There were no holes. Monty was in there. I think he had 4 or 5 carries. He only had 1 hole. That's it. The problem this game was not the use of Monty. The problem this game was that Kingsley Aguakun was in there. Cologne was in there. Mahogany was getting his ass beat coming off an injury. Miles Frazier was the only good one. So why don't we just keep Miles Frazier in there? Why was Kingsley starting at center? Why not start Cologne? Because he's the freaking backup center. I heard someone say just put Tate Ratledge in there because he's your center of the future. I wouldn't do that. Not at this point in the season, right? I don't know how much he's been practicing. I don't know if that's going to be more so an off-season project. I don't know what it is, but I wouldn't have done that because I don't know where he is at this point in his journey. But the Monty use wasn't going to help you with the 15. You got 15 yards. There are 4 quarters in a game. Okay? That's 3.5 yards per quarter. Not per carry, per quarter. You are rushing the football 3.5 yards per quarter. Okay? I hate to say it, but SOL. They should have been up 17-3 instead of 10. Well, yeah, that's facts. Goff is quite ghetto. I mean, he's the opposite of White as displayed by his running ability and acrobatics. Although, in truth, Goff is far from the top reason for this. He is not the top reason, but we're going to address Goff. Tyreek is a very depressing player. I haven't seen him do well, anything yet. I didn't understand the draft pick when we made it. I didn't. No, I didn't. I'm just here because I'm bandwagoner. You're a casual, Zach. I didn't see the jumbo package at all, I believe, which is one of our strengths. Just bad play calling and effort. Facts. Our run game is in Chicago, unfortunately. The Detroit Lions are like the Great White Hope versus Ali or Jack Johnson. Play a bandwagon tune for us, please, Zach J. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. The team, even from the beginning, just looked like they could care less and played like it. Yeah, there's been a lot of games over the last few years where we played at Ford Field and there was no energy. And I don't understand it. That's supposed to be your home field. They didn't even attempt to do it on the 3. At that point, I don't want them running the football. If you're talking about when are you talking about on the 3? But we had proven we couldn't run the football. I don't want to see them run the football until they figure out how to run the football. Because at this point, you're just square peg, round hole. You're battering ram. I've given suggestions. I've said that we should put Monty and Gibbs on the field at the same time. We're allergic to that. We thought that was an Osama bin Johnson thing. Maybe it's a Dan Campbell thing. You've got this Sonic and Knuckles, this dynamic duo, and you won't put them on the field at the same time. In the offseason, if y'all want to see it, I'll do some play design for you guys so you can see like stuff I'm talking about. Because a lot of if you don't know, I used to be an offensive coordinator. Okay. Now it was high school football, but offensive coordinator is offensive coordinator. Okay. And the play design, I'm thinking of one right now in my head. It's called a double counter. It's beautiful. It would have Gibbs and Monty on the field at the same time. There's so much of that we didn't use. Especially after Sam Laporta goes out. And I mean, Anthony Frisker had the game of his life. Who had that on their bingo card? We haven't used a tight end since Brock Wright went out. And that was right after Sam Laporta went out. We don't trust the tight ends that we have. So if we don't trust the tight ends that we have, how about you have Monty and Gibbs in the game at the same time? Because that also confuses the defense. Like when you have 4 wide receivers, it spreads out the defense. Well, when you have 2 of these running backs in, now here's where you use the psychology. Now that you've proven that you will do nothing but run the ball up the middle with Jahmyr Gibbs, they can't say whether this ball is going up the middle or wide. So now what they have to do is take a beat, just a beat, to read what's happening in the backfield. That slows down the defense. If you've got some window dressing, some motion, all this stuff with both of the backs, it confuses the defense. It works the same way as if you have wide receivers going in motion. If you have Monty and Gibbs in the backfield and then you motion Gibbs into the slot, well, they don't know what's happening. They don't know if it's going to be a pass. They don't know if it's going to be a run. If you keep them off balance, it works in your favor. If you run the ball straight up the middle all the time, I don't care what running back you're using, unless your offensive line, like last year's offensive line, is physically dominating and imposing, which we don't have this year, it's not going to matter. If you have a physically dominating and imposing offensive line, then you can line up and say, we're running up the middle, you better stop us. Because if you don't, it's going to be a long day. We don't have that ability anymore. So why do we keep running the ball like we have that ability? I'm getting Scott Linehan vibes from this. Remember what I used to say? Stop taking your Ferrari through the woods, Scott Linehan with Javid Best running them up the middle. Stop taking your Ferrari through the woods, Dan Campbell with Javid Best. They both start with J-A-H. Jameer running up the middle. So I don't care what I don't care what running back they're using. It's not Monty. It's not Gibbs. You can't open holes for anyone. You cannot. And we're going to go over some stats in a little bit here. All right. The Steelers look like the game plan was for Jared Goff and him alone to beat them. Yes, that was it. I hate on Morton because I'm racist. He's calling plays that are getting my beautiful white king Goff killed in the pocket. Facts. You should be ashamed of yourself. Discombobulation like Bobbitt. Okay, you spitting over there. Here's Johnny. When they failed on 4th down conversion drive. Oh, well, I mean, again, when they've failed on so many 4th down conversions with just trying to run the ball up the middle on 4th and 2 or 4th and 3. It doesn't work. You fool somebody. You don't have the personnel. You're not the bully anymore. You're just not. And you've got to accept the fact that you're not the bully and you have to make the adjustments. You can't play like you're the bully. You can't be 300 pounds, drop 150, and still be like, yeah, I'm about to move anybody in this room. No, you lost 150 pounds. You're not moving people like you used to. I'm sorry. I think Dan is our best choice at play calling, but I'd rather have someone completely focused on that because Dan can't handle being the OC and HC at the same time. Oh, he's the best option we have right now. Yes, Johnny Morton is, I don't even know. They don't even show him in games anymore. You know what I'm saying? Gibbs as a slot receiver while Laporta's out and Monty in the backfield. Yeah, we did a lot of that in Dallas, against Dallas, sorry. And he was cooking them from the slot. What up, though, Belinda Brown? I can count on one hand how many times we have ran a counter this season. Facts. Straight up the middle. We can just go ahead and start preparing for the draft. That's gross. I don't want to do that. That's where we need a mobile quarterback. Then see, we got too many. We got too many needs. We got too many needs. We got too many needs, bro. The only genius the Lions had left out. It's sad to say. You are correct. Counter, haven't seen much of them. Counter is something in your kitchen. I can also count on one hand how many times Gibbs has been stopped on a Texas route. We have like we're gonna get into this. All right, we're gonna get into this. Blaming golf for not being mobile seems like you're just finding a reason to hate on him and coping or not coping. All right, we're gonna get into this. Does the Lions go DE or O line in the first round? Now, that's a great segue into my next issue. The bigger question is this, and I don't know how to do a poll on StreamYard. If I was just on my YouTube channel, I would know how to do a poll. How many of you guys believe that Brad Holmes takes a big slice of humble pie, sits down and eats it while looking in the mirror? How many of you guys believe that? I'm going to say something to you guys that I've been hinting at. Some of you are going to agree with it. Some of you are going to disagree with it. But I think everybody will be able to understand where I'm at with this. Martin Mayhew gave a damn about the pass rush. Martin Mayhew gave you Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, Ziggy Ansah, so on and so forth, right? Cliff Averill. All right. Now, what were we calling ourselves at that time? The Silver Rush. Okay. We had a name for what we were doing. We at one point we got Kyle Vanden Bosch. Okay. We had a name for what we were doing. They were calling it the Silver Rush. Oh, how I'd love to go back to the days of the Silver Rush when our GM cared about the pass rush. Here's another question, and I know the answer to this, but I just want you guys to understand this. What position did Martin Mayhew play in the NFL? Does anybody know what position Martin Mayhew played in the NFL? Don't Google it. If you don't know, just say you don't know, because I know exactly what it is. He'd never do that. He's too proud. Exactly. All right. Why Dan Campbell's the face of the franchise? He don't get the players. The Silver Rush, right. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Follow me now. Follow me now. He was a DB. Okay. There's a DB that we had at general manager who can draft and sign and trade for a better defensive line than the guy that played defensive line in college. Okay. Now, the greater good said he doesn't want to go back to the Silver Rush days. We had a better defense, right? We had a better defense. Remember in 2014 when everyone wanted to say that Matthew Stafford has never had any help and we had a top 3 defense? Remember that when we had Sue and Fairley and them boys? Remember that? Remember the Silver Rush? Okay. Now here's the thing that I'm going to say to you. And I want you to be receptive. I want you to open your ears and open your mind. Remember, I've been saying that Martin Mayhew's mistake was greater than Brad Holmes' mistakes. Because I've been saying that because of what Aaron Donald turned out to be and what Eric Ebron turned out to be. There are differing reports about Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh has one side of the story where basically he wanted to get paid more than Matthew Stafford, and he felt that the organization should have obliged. So the mistake that Martin Mayhew made that got him pretty much out of town was that he didn't draft Aaron Donald, who turned out to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So he didn't have a contingency plan for Ndamukong Suh leaving. And if you would have put Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald together on the line at the same time, you might have won a Super Bowl. Aaron Donald's rookie year. You might have won a Super Bowl. Okay? So we all agree with that. That was the mistake that Martin Mayhew made, right? Okay, here's a question. You were 15-2, and Brad Holmes had no contingency plan for Kevin Zeitler, for Frank Ragnow, for Zadarius Smith, for what's the other one that I'm missing? Frank Ragnow, Carlton Davis. And it was all about money. You let Carlton Davis go for $4 million a year. You let Zadarius Smith go for $2 million. You let Kevin Zeitler go for $9 million, but the reports are less. He went and he signed a $9 million deal in Tennessee, but the reports were that he would have taken less to remain in Detroit. You let these people go. One of them, you cut him outright. That was Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith was so hurt by the way he was treated by the Detroit Lions, he retired from football. He didn't want to be in Philly. Martin Mayhew let one man walk out of the door and didn't have a contingency plan. Brad Holmes let 4 people walk out of the door, 2 offense, 2 defense, and didn't have a contingency plan, and has missed. Who has he hit on the defensive line? Please tell me, other than Hutch. Can you tell me who he's drafted that's been a hit? What's your answer? Do you have an answer that says Brad Holmes drafted this player and he's been a stud? Jacksonville was just being Jacksonville, bro. If we don't have Hutch, maybe maybe that's better. Maybe it was better that he didn't get Hutch. Because maybe it would have forced him very early on to make harder decisions. See, in his first 2 drafts, he had very easy decisions. Penei Sewell was an easy decision because Cincinnati and all these other teams were drafting, and Cincinnati drafted a damn wide receiver in Jamar Chase, who's a phenomenal wide receiver. But Joe Burrow needed to be protected. They didn't draft him. So Penei Sewell fell to us. Hutch fell to us. Now, someone said the other day, I was watching something and they said that Matthew Stafford didn't want out of Detroit, which I have to follow up with him and ask him what he means by that. because he said it's not true. And I've only ever heard that he won it out. That's why he was over there kikiing with what's his name? Sean McVay in Cabo. Who has Brad Holmes, the defensive tackle, drafted on the defensive line, other than Hutch, that has been just, he's done everything that we've expected him to do. And what's worse is Brad Holmes' uh, uh, assistant GM, his right-hand man, Ray Agnew, was a defensive end in the NFL. Why can't they draft defensive line? Why can't they evaluate defensive line talent? So if you don't want to go back to the days of the Silver Rush, and I'm talking about having a competent drafting GM when it comes to the freaking defensive line, he was a DB. He could draft DBs. Brad Holmes is a DB snob. Where has your secondary been other than Kirby Joseph, who was a steal, and Brian Branch? You haven't drafted not cornerback one that has helped this team. Terrion Arnold, the book is still out on him, but he's starting to get the injury-prone label really fast. Who's in his rake straw, and what's in his rake straw, and why? What free agency signings have been impactful here? I mean, you have trades that you've made that have been decent, but you won't re-sign the player once you traded for Zadarius Smith and you cut him. You traded for Carlton Davis, another third-round pick, by the way, and you let him go. Now, you got a compensatory third-round pick for him, I believe, but I'd rather have Carlton Davis. Oh, by the way, hasn't been injured this year, playing hasn't missed a game. Oh, by the way. Let me get to your comments. All right. Aleem was a hit, but that's about it. Was he? Where is he? Where is he this year? I know he's coming back from injury, but guess what? He's always coming back from injury. He's about one season-ending injury away from being in the Davenport situation. Right now, he's injury-prone. I think the only year that he didn't miss time with some sort of lower body injury was year number 1. So if the best ability is availability, then no. The only way you can say that he was a hit is because you drafted him in the 3rd round, and that's about the only value you've ever gotten out of a 3rd round pick that you actually selected instead of traded. All right, let me go back to the Martin Mayhew question. All right, yes, Mayhew was a DB. Bench, no. No, he was a DB. He was a defensive player, but can't remember what position. Yeah, he was a DB. All right. Chris Spillman was there. Okay. Bubba Baker has the most sacks, but wasn't a stat back then. Facts. Worst Detroit Lions playoff loss in history, Stafford versus Dallas. Yep. with the two turnovers on the last drive by Stafford. Should have paid Sue. That's fine. That was his mistake. Okay. His play for Carlton was DJ Reed, and well, we know how that's went. Exactly. That's why I said he didn't have a contingency plan. You don't have a contingency plan when your contingency plan is ass. It's like just not having one. Sue wasn't worth more than Stafford at that time. That's what I'm saying. That's what Sue wanted. That was his, Holmes just wanted a pat on the head from Sheila. Aleem. Y'all keep saying Aleem. That was the hit. Okay. There was this one dude he drafted named Nobody. Facts. Aaron Donald was overlooked for his size. When you have a winning domination and a level of your defense, fresh meat keeps it dominant. We know Aaron Donald was overlooked, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it was egregious because who he became. If Aaron Donald didn't become a first ballot Hall of Famer and he was just all right, it wouldn't have been that egregious. The draft is the draft. It's a crapshoot. It's not like he passed on someone who was like established and you knew who he was. All right. I wonder what Hutch would look like if he had Sue on the line with him. Oh, Hutch would be a 20-sack guy every year if Sue was here. Jack Campbell, St. Brown, Sewell, and Hutch fell in his lap. He could have stood pat and got Pickens instead of J-Mo, to be honest. Well, we see what J-Mo's turning into. He's a much better, much faster Pickens. He doesn't have the hands that Pickens does, but he also won't pout when he doesn't get the ball, and he won't give up on a route. So with that amount of help, he would probably have a 15 to 18 and a half sack season already. Facts. Hutch was a no-brainer. He was. Tight end and a top 7 pick. He have to be a generational player. He does. But that was Joe Lombardi. He was listening to Joe Lombardi, who said that Eric Ebron would be his Jimmy Graham, and it was the missing piece. Because they were trying to, again, replicate what the Saints did. I was told Levi Onwuzurike was a top 10 last year, despite how many games he played at DT. Yeah, okay. Him and his 3 half sacks. Yeah. All right. I bet he's still banking on Levi and Davenport. If Davenport, I'm serious. I know you always say re-signing Davenport is a fireable offense. If Davenport, I'm telling you this right now, and it's on wax, somebody can clip it. If Davenport walks back into the freaking Allen Park and signs another extension, I'm full on fire Brad Holmes. Fire him. Fire him. I don't want to see. I don't give a damn about the draft. I don't give a damn about free agency. I don't give a damn about trades. Fire him. Look, I don't care. Davenport, listen to me. If Davenport walks back into this building with another contract for the entire season, off season, fire Brad Holmes. That is all I'm going to say. I don't give a damn. Fire him. I don't care who he drafts. I don't care what he does. Fire him, because that's freaking crazy for you to re-sign Davenport, who has done what? Did Davenport look interested in playing football yesterday? I'm just asking the question. When y'all looked at Davenport, did he look very interested in playing football? We could win the Super Bowl. I don't care. Fire that man. How many picks ended up not playing or barely have played? Oh, we're gonna do this. I don't know if we're gonna do it tomorrow, but we're gonna do it. I'm going to do a show where we compare the moves of Martin Mayhew and the moves of Brad Holmes. Right? Because I'm telling y'all, Martin Mayhew is only looked at in this town the way he's looked at because of Sue and Aaron Donald. That's it. And it's because of who Aaron Donald became. Brad Holmes has Broderick Martin, Hendon Hooker, Manu, Tesla. Tesla is the only one that has contributed in any way to this team. And he dropped a game-winning touchdown yesterday. He's the only one that has contributed in any way to this team. And you had to give up 3 third-round picks. I used to say it was 2. I'm saying it's 3 now because you shouldn't have drafted him in the 3rd round. Because it wasn't necessary. Again, no contingency plan. You knew Frank Ragnow was talking about retiring. Why didn't you draft him? Or why didn't you draft someone for him? The freaking Chicago Bears got Joe Thuney, who is a Pro Bowl All-Pro center, for a 4th and a 6th. But we're busy wasting 3rd-round picks. Howie Roseman went and got, what's that dude's name? Jaden Phillips. Because he had 3rd-rounders to play with. But because we drafted Isaac Tesla and used 3 3rd-round picks, we have no 3rd-round picks to play with. Instead of getting proven players for these 3rd-round picks, I get it. Let's not draft anybody in the 3rd round. Cool. Use a 3rd-round pick to trade for someone. The philosophy in Detroit must change. The philosophy must change. Our guys, grit, all this BS. It's got to change. What is this shit? I can't get jiggy with this shit. What is this shit? It's got to change, bro. You won't go get anybody. Oh, well, we don't know how these guys are when you bring them from outside of the organization. Brother, who cares? Who cares? You brought in freaking CJGJ, who was a knucklehead. But everywhere he's gone and actually got actual time to play, they've won a goddamn Super Bowl. Look at what he's doing for the Bears, bro. This man went back to the freaking Eagles and won a Super Bowl with them. Another one. What are we talking about? This man went to the freaking Chicago Bears and is contributing to winning. He's getting stops on defense. He's breaking up passes. He's getting interceptions. He's causing fumbles. He's getting fumble recoveries. So he may be a turd. He may be a malcontent. Fine. Not everybody that you bring in is going to be some freaking locker room cancer. If you really view every NFL player outside of your organization as a locker room cancer, you shouldn't be a GM. Because your pool of acquiring talent is very limited. How can you be a GM when you think that way about people? How? Oh, we can't get this guy. He's a malcontent. We can't get this guy. He's a cancer. We can't get this guy. He doesn't fit the culture. We can't get this guy. He doesn't have the grit. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm going to read your comments, and you know what time it is. Mailbag. What you going to do? What you going to do when they reading you? Mailbag. Snicks, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right, get your mailbag questions in. I'm going to try to catch up on your comments and do some mailbags, and then we will be out. Could have waited on Tyreek Williams. Didn't need him. Didn't need him at all. 1st round pick, as I said, you knew Frank Ragnow was out the door. He's had 1 foot in and 1 foot out for a couple seasons now. You know? All right, Robert. We'll catch you later. I wish Dan would use Tesla more. I mean, we see He has maybe the best hands in the league with just 9 or 10 catches and 5 of them being a TD. I don't know about best hands in the league. Davenport got hurt yesterday and came back in. Yeah, but he got hurt again. Again. What up though, Big Wolf status? Very tough year. Davenport never looks interested in playing football. He's very aloof. How many picks did Holmes give away? In total, it's been 6. I'm talking about 3rd round picks. Broderick Martin, Hendon Hooker, Manu, who was you used the 3rd rounder to trade up to get him in the 4th round. Freaking ridiculous. And then you got the 3 3rd round picks for Tesla. So that's just the ones that I remember offhand. The only successful 3rd round pick has been Carlton Davis. And it wasn't successful because you didn't keep him. So, I don't think Mayhew was a horrible GM. He wasn't. He made one mistake. One. That was it. And everybody hates him. That was part of the whole mistake. That was Eric Ebron for Aaron Donald. And as I said, the reasoning behind Eric Ebron being drafted is because that terrible ass offensive coordinator named Joe Lombardi needed him. He stood on the table for Eric Ebron because Eric Ebron was going to be his Jimmy Graham. And they were going to replicate the Saints offense because that's where he came from. And he needed a Jimmy Graham. He needed that guy instead of going to get one in the later rounds. And Martin Mayhew said, okay, have your guy. Because we got Sue. Davenport got hurt. Yeah. He's always getting hurt. Jack Campbell has been a huge help for us, but he can't do everything. And that's the thing. I'm not saying that Brad Holmes hasn't hit on anybody. But the misses are so glaring because of the arrogance behind them. And the fact that you will not go and deal with anyone outside of everything is I tried. I tried to get Danielle Hunter. Well, guess what? Houston actually got him. I tried to get Max Crosby. They weren't selling. I tried to get Myles Garrett. They weren't selling. I tried to get Trey Hendrickson. Oh, but they were selling. What'd you give up for him? Nothing. And maybe there was a reason he didn't give up anything for Trey Hendrickson this year because he knew that this team wasn't worth a damn. Listen, this is the last thing that I'll say today about Brad Holmes. The NFC North, Bears, Packers, Vikings, all were making moves this offseason to get better because the Detroit Lions were the back-to-back NFC North champions. And the Detroit Lions sat there, Brad Holmes sat there, thumbing his nose at everyone else and did nothing to get better. Nothing. All you did was lose and not replace. Dan Campbell doesn't. Johnny Morton was terrible. It was a terrible hire. I sat up there. I had to try to convince myself that it would be okay. I had to look at Bo Nix. He was look all the stuff. I had to try to convince myself that it would be okay. Osama bin Johnson, he's a terrorist. He's a traitor. Fantastic coach. Fantastic coach. And it hurts to say it. Lions going to get the last place schedule. That's the problem. That's the problem. If they do nothing and then they get the last place schedule and then make it the playoffs again, Brian Holmes is gonna, he's gonna be like, I did it again. Yeah, okay. The we good and the fans are dumb gotta go. Yeah. Yeah. That's lights might have been too bright yesterday for the Teslas of the world when that clock is running out. Yeah, and he dropped the pass in the end zone. I'll be fine with the last place schedule. Hopefully, we do what we have to do to dominate a last place schedule. And that means we need to get players. We got too many holes in this team. And obviously, we're going to talk about that all offseason. But you're going to have to make trades. You're going to have to sign free agents. You're going to have to adjust contracts. You're going to have to do a lot, bro. Because what we got right now, and this is why I said yesterday, that Sheila should sell some of the stake in the team. I'm not saying, oh, Ford sell the team, blah, 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 blah. No. Sell some of the stake in the team. Maybe do a Mark Cuban, not a Mark Cuban. I would say, Sheila, you keep 50% of the team, you sell 49%. Why do I say that? Because that still makes you the majority owner, but you get another billionaire in here. Remember, the salary cap is not the hindrance. It's cash richness. So we know guys like Tom Gores are cash rich. If Tom Gores wants to buy a 49% stake in the Detroit Lions, please come on down, because then he can ingest cash into the escrow account so that we can give, the guaranteed money in the contracts, and then we can move people around. Jeffrey Lurie has money. This is why he can afford to go out and sign everybody and draft everybody. And when it's time to let somebody go, they know when it's time to do it. So I don't want to hear that we broke and all this. I don't want to hear it, bro. Because if we're broke, then we're stuck with this team. We don't know what's happening with Kirby Joseph's knees. So are we going to have to rely on guys like Thomas Harper? I'm going to tell you what. I don't give a damn about a single camp darling this year. I don't care. I don't care. If things aren't looking good, if the offense isn't clicking in training camp, that's a problem. People that still want to talk about, oh, the offense is a top 3 offense in scoring. Yeah, that's great. That's great. What does it look like? Use your eyes. What do your eyes tell you? We had 15 yards of rushing yesterday. What do your eyes tell you? Does that tell you we good on offense? Mm-mm. We gonna go over, like, tomorrow. We're gonna go over Jahmyr Gibbs stats and stuff like that, just to see, like, the amount of games that he has under 50 yards rushing. Crazy. Gardner Johnson is starting for the Bears. Been the starter since he signed. I know. Should have drafted Carter. Facts. We're gonna win Thursday. Packers gonna lose. And then it's going to go to week 18, and suddenly all these fans saying just rest the starters, going to switch up. I can't with these fans giving up. We had 2 opportunities with our playoff lives on the line, and we blew them. We had many opportunities throughout this season to control our own destiny, and we blew them. We are 8-7. Do you realize the unlikelihood of a 10-7 team getting into the playoffs? What are you talking about? This is what I mean. This is what I mean, the eternal optimism. What have you seen this season that has given you the freaking eternal optimism bug? I don't get it. Be realistic about what you're seeing. This isn't freaking, pixie land and fairy dust and unicorns and freaking, freaking Bikini Bottom. This isn't SpongeBob, bro. Like, come on. Personally, I think Sheila and Brad are just looking at the money from the tickets. Hey, that's what it's seeming like right now. Mailbag, do you think folks start revving up the old mock draft machine on Saturday or just this morning? I don't know. I know I'm not doing it until the season is over. And I'm gonna be working on my mock draft simulator. Hopefully it'll go better this year than it did last year. As soon as our season is over, which is in 2 weeks, I will start working on it. We have to get a veteran center, can't draft and can't count on Glasgow. Oh, facts. Now, I don't know if Frank Ragnow is trying to come back next year, but Brad Holmes better get a written in blood and set in stone promise from Frank Ragnow that he's either coming back or he's not. Because he got to sit down and have that meeting with him. Frank, what you going to do? Because we got to do something. You coming back? Cool, welcome. You not? Let me know right now. Because if you want to come back later in the season, that's fine, cool. But I need to know that at the beginning of this season, at the beginning of training camp, you're not going to be here. Because if you're not going to be here, then I got to do something. And if you want to come back later, we'll talk about that. Mailbag, would you go offensive tackle or edge round 1? Tackle? Now we got to see. We got to get something from Taylor Decker too before the draft. You retiring or you coming back? Because tackle's really not the problem right now. If we're talking about first round, if those are the two choices, I'm going edge. Right? I'm going edge. But free agency and trades should be able to get you somebody. We can't. This is a problem. Brad just wants to rely on the draft. We can't do that this year. We cannot. You got to do something else. Next thing you know, he'll have Miles sitting in his lap for a 5th round pick, and he'll say, "Well, I just don't like his fashion, so nah." I wouldn't doubt it. Mailbag, does Shep get fired or demoted? Probably not after 1 year, no. Probably that. So, again, Shep gets the same excuse that AG got in his first couple of years. We don't have the players. Everybody died in the secondary. But the Aleem McNeil at edge experiment needs to end. But the reason that you have that experiment going is because your GM doesn't give a damn about the pass rush. Cool. You want internal pressure? Get better internal pressure guys. Other teams can do it. Why can't the Lions? Other teams can do it. Brad, you were a defensive tackle in college. Do something about it. You know what the frick you're looking at. I was a corner and a running back. I know what a good corner is, and I know what a freaking good running back is. I don't work professionally in the NFL. You're a GM. Get your ish together, bro. Seriously. You can't draft a defensive tackle to save your life. You can't draft a freaking edge rusher to save your life. But those are the positions that you and Ray Agnew freaking played, bro. What are we doing? It's like Michael Jordan out here. And Brad Holmes played in college, so I know he ain't Michael Jordan. I know he doesn't have the burden of greatness. Michael Jordan, in case the guys don't know what I'm referring to, terrible talent evaluator. Greatest basketball player ever. Terrible talent evaluator. He's a terrible general manager, terrible owner. Locker room has enough veterans to keep one wild thing with talent in line. And facts.
Hi.
Facts, bro. Mailbag. I watched JJ McCarthy take the snaps versus the New York Football Giants yesterday. Don't know if he'll go on Thursday, but he's got some wheels. Your thoughts? The Lions can't beat anybody right now. They lost to the Vikings earlier this season when we had a better offensive line. Our offense, if the offensive line from yesterday goes out there on Thursday, Brian Flores is going to kill Jared Goff. He's going to need to be taken out on a stretcher. There's not going to be any protection, and Jared Goff is going to be throwing a bunch of balls in the dirt. He's going to be turning around, taking sacks, and we're not going to have any contingency plan. Here's the contingency plan, guys. 2-step drop. Hit the back foot and throw it to somebody. That's what Aaron Rodgers was doing yesterday. This is what many teams do to us when it's all about stop and hutch. So why can't we adapt it? Why can't we adopt it? I don't know. Well, did we have Nick Fairley at that point? Yes, we had Nick Fairley. We had him with when we drafted Aaron Donald. Right? But see, a lot of people want to poop on Nick Fairley, but then many of y'all don't know he had a heart problem. And they found that out when he got to New Orleans. So people that wanted to talk about his effort and all this other stuff, Nick Fairley's a 300-pound man with a heart problem. He could have died on the field. So how do you feel after finding that out? What round do you think he'll get some type of brother? and if he gets a defensive lineman like he showed this week, this season, he got Tyleik Williams, who was supposed to be a Lee McNeil clone. Why the hell would you get a clone of a guy that you already have in the first round? Derek Harmon, though, Detroit native, actually stops the run. We could see that yesterday. Yeah. The grandfather is playing again. Who's the grandfather? Mailbag. Am I the only one who thinks St. Brown came up short of the goal line before flipping the football to Jared Goff? He did. That was no one said that he scored. They're saying that Jared Goff scored. The thing that they're saying is that his offensive pass interference wasn't offensive pass interference, which is complete slappy stuff. That is a complete slappy take, bro. That man tried to bowl him over and then come back for the ball. That's not legal. Sorry. No urgency since the 24 NFL championship game. It looks like that at times. All right. Well, bye. Goodbye. We fake fans. All righty. Have a nice trip. The eyes tell me Goff isn't the problem like a lot of people are saying. Goff's not the problem, but here's the problem with Goff. There are too many things that he needs. And I'm getting pretty tired of you gotta have everything. Right? There's a big concern about week 18 in Chicago. Huge concern. It's windy and it's cold, and it might snow. And none of those things jibe with what he does well. At some point, bro, you're playing the NFL. You're going to play in the wind. You're going to play in the rain. You're going to play in the cold. You're going to play in the snow. Be better, do better. You have a suck-ass offensive line. Do something about it. Do something. Sit down with Dan Campbell and come up with a game plan about how to get the ball out of your hands quickly so that the rush up the middle doesn't affect you. Stop trying to run Jahmyr Gibbs up the middle. Like, do something, make adjustments, bro. Like, this is it's square peg, round hole stuff. For the ever optimistic, delirious line slappies, y'all always land on your feet, come hell or high water, till you get old as me. Season's over. No, you're a fake fan. Go away, Dolo Dolomite. I'm realistic. We still good? Okay. We still good, but we ain't good. Shout out Lions Syndicate for yesterday. Shout out Ursher. Not good, right. Do you think we would have gotten beat by Phillip Rivers? Depends on what the defense looked like. I don't know. I do not trust the interior of our offensive line against the pressure that the Vikings bring up the center. No, there's no reason to at all. Proctor from Bama would be cold. We'll get there. We'll get there, bro. I'm not doing that now. No one is saying, okay, so here's the thing. I'm not telling you to rest the starters and tank. I'm telling you from what I have seen this season, you will not win. That's the point. Watch the way the team is playing. Watch the way that we had 15 yards rushing yesterday. Watch the way that our offense was dead for the entire second half until 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Watch the way that we can dominate you in the first half and come out and get dominated in the second half because we're not making adjustments. Watch the way we're getting out-coached. Watch the way our defense let up 15 yards per carry. Watch the way that our defense allowed 2 running backs to go over 100 yards all-purpose. Jaylen Warren had 143 rushing yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 130 all-purpose yards. This is what I'm talking to you about. What have we done on the offensive line that makes you believe that they're going to protect Goff this time in Minnesota against the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores? What have you seen to believe that? This is my point. So no, I'm not telling you to rest the starters and tank. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if the starters are out there or not. We don't have enough. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about resting the starters. Nobody's talking about resting the starters. I've never said that out of my mouth. Never. What is this argument that you're having? You're having this argument with somebody else, not me. Honestly, when the players look like they want to play Shep, looks like a great DC, the players just look like they don't care anymore. That's true. They didn't look like they had much fight in them. Kingsley did not play well. No, he didn't. He was one of the main reasons that we couldn't run the football. Kingsley's trash. The Lions DBs get hurt because they need to mop up missed tackles of the poorest front seven. Facts. Now you're saying bro had a hole in his heart and was still cooking. I love Nick Fairley and Sue. Real Lions fans know. Facts. Lions had the number 2 defense in NFL, Calvin Johnson with Stafford, and still lost to the versus Dallas. Facts. Rivers in the 49ers zone defense is making the grandfather look like the Rivers of old. Okay. Oh, that's on now. Okay. I got you. You ain't wrong right now. Detroit looks like the SOL of old. They do. All right, bro. I ain't taking Kingsley slander. Bro, I don't know why the third string starter was the third string center was starting. I don't. I don't. Kingsley shouldn't have been playing. He's a third string center. What happened to Cologne? Isn't he our second string center? We have Miles Frazier. We had Christian Mahogany. Why was Cologne playing guard? I don't understand that. They had Michael Neese, Kingsley Aguakun, and freaking Cologne out there all at different times. What are we? How is that? How does that help? There is no continuity. He said it's worth a try. All right, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. I appreciate everybody for coming through, hanging out, stopping by for a drink and conversation. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll talk more about this bull crap that we've got on the field called the Detroit Lions. And man, appreciate y'all sticking throughout the season. It's been a tough one. It's almost over. We can almost start talking about the draft. I'm not gonna do it during the season though, because we used to do that. uh we're very unlucky because we have people that like Brad Holmes who think that we're all stupid, and Broderick Morton is the wave of the future. All right, y'all. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.